country, driving up our deficit and increasing the growing gap between the very rich and everybody else. Millionaires and billionaires do not need huge tax deductions. That's the simple truth. And the fact of the matter is, despite Republican rhetoric, if we're serious about creating jobs in this country, which should be our main priority, that's one of the worst ways to do it. Much better to take that money, invest in our roads, bridges, railroad systems, infrastructure. You create jobs doing that.
Senator, how do you feel about the unemployed in this country being held hostage in these negotiations? Because that's exactly what it was. We got to call it for what it is. It was a bargaining chip on the table after Americans have paid into unemployment insurance.
Ed, this is the issue. Our Republican friends have got to be held accountable. The issue is the insult, the outrage that they want tax breaks for billionaires, but they can't in their heart come up with extending unemployment compensation so that millions of families in this country will have a modicum of security. That's an outrage. I believe politically we can rally the American people around that cause. We are right. We're talking about social justice. They're talking about more tax breaks for billionaires who don't need it.
This is against the will of the American people. All the polling that's out there. This is against the majority votes in the House. This is against the majority of votes in the Senate. There were 53 votes on the Senate floor on Saturday. Is President Obama playing with the future of his presidency, in your opinion?
Not only is this bad public policy, driving up the deficit, increasing the growing gap between the rich and everybody else, I think it is bad politics. It's bad politics in the sense of who is going to believe the president or anybody who votes for this in the future when you campaign for years against Bush's economic policy and then you say, oh, by the way, that's what I'm voting for. I'm voting for tax breaks for the rich. And by the way, if it turns out in this deal to be 2 years, you can bet that that's just the beginning. It will be extended beyond that. So I think for a Democratic president, Democratic House, Democratic Senate to be following the Bush economic philosophy of tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires is absolutely wrong public policy, absolutely wrong politically. And I got to tell you, I will do whatever I can to see that 60 votes are not acquired to pass this piece of legislation.
Will you filibuster this?
I will do whatever I can on this. This is a very, very bad agreement.
So the 2-year extension of the Bush tax cuts, the 13 months on unemployment, that's the reported meat of the deal. You're telling us tonight that you will do everything you can to stop this deal, and this, of course, would push it into the next session of the Congress, and we would go back to the old rate. That's what you would take right now, Senator.
I believe, Ed, that we have the vast majority of the American people on our side. I think we've got to hold tough on this, hold firm on this, and not concede to Republicans who, as you indicated, have absolutely no inclination to compromise. They want it all for their rich friends.
Senator, good to have you with us tonight. Thanks for speaking up.
Thank you.
For more, let's bring in Jonathan Alter, national affairs columnist for Newsweek and an MSNBC political analyst. He's also author of the book, The Promise, President Obama, Year One. Jonathan, this extension, why would the president do this?
You know, it's the political reality that he thinks he's facing. I basically agree with Bernie Sanders on this. I think it's crazy and really, really bad politics and bad policy. But you could argue that the politics on this were conditioned by this election. You know, that the American people were given a chance to speak, and whatever the polls are saying, and the polls show people, you know, feel that extending the tax cuts for the wealthy is a bad idea. They had an opportunity to send a message in November, and they didn't send it, Ed. So it puts the president in a really hard position. So the question then becomes, well, what should progressives do? Should they shake their fist at the president? Okay, fine. I can understand why people are frustrated and want to do this. But what they really need to do is organize politically in the states they live in and let their elected representatives of both parties know how they feel about this and begin to make them feel the heat. This is a political struggle. It's not a, you know, a question of, oh, we want to see the president land a punch. That's all just jabbering. Okay. This is about politics, organizing politically.
I don't disagree with you on that, but this is not jabbering. This is bigger than the stimulus package. This is unbelievably, I mean, the Republicans have gone around the country blaming the stimulus package on the Obama administration, saying that he has signatured all these record deficits, and now they come back to
Which
get
is
tax
totally untrue. Totally untrue.
It is untrue because it was before he was in. But this is the narrative they created, said that he wasn't concerned about the national debt and foreign debt and crisis and all that. And so now they come back and usher in their tax cuts, and look what it's going to do. This is going to add $700 billion and beyond. I mean, this, I can't believe that the president would not go with, stand up and say, this is what the American people want, and I'm going to draw my line in the sand.
Here's the problem why he didn't do this, Ed, is that if all of the tax cuts expire, which the Republicans have the votes to make happen, have a brinksmanship situation, then the vast majority of Americans, 98%, get a tax increase after January 1st, and they don't have an extension of unemployment benefits. So he has to look not just to the politics of this, but who's going to get hurt if there's a stalemate.
The country's going to get hurt.
No, but forget about the long-term question of, you know, the country getting hurt by these ridiculous tax cuts. In the short term, who's going to get hurt? People who are unemployed, if they don't extend the unemployment benefits, which the Republicans shamelessly don't want to do, and everybody else, 98%.
I have to say this.
If the middle-class tax cuts also expire on January 1st.
If this is going to hurt so many people, then the Democrats ought to be able to go back and make the case that it's hurting people and have it stand on its own merits.
What's going to hurt them is if there's a stalemate. The immediate political problem is what's going to hurt them is if there's a stalemate and we get past January 1st, then everybody gets a tax increase. That's why the pressure is on right now,
Jonathan,
to try to do something about this.
I got you. Thanks, Jonathan. Good to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much.